Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Bill Dickinson. I'm the president and co-founder of Soundtrack Hearing. You just heard from my good friend and business partner, Dr. David Genevico, introducing you to Sheffield Financial. David and I are very excited to be able to partner with Sheffield in bringing to the hearing care community some very exciting new opportunities for financing options and opportunities for your practice and your patients. The year 2021 will be a big year for me professionally. It's my 30th year as an audiologist, and it's been fun to look back at all of the changes that I've seen across my career. I started out in the year where there was only a single channel cochlear implant, and now we have multi-channel speech processing systems. I saw the release of the first CIC instrument, the first RIC instrument, the first open fit instrument. The first extended wear product with a lyric. All of that was to address the cosmetic concerns. I lived through and practiced through the digital transformation, and when the entire industry shifted from 100% analog processing to 100% fully digital processing. I saw the educational system completely revamped, and I was a recipient of that as a student myself. As well as a faculty member in teaching and bringing this new educational model to the entire profession. The one thing that has not changed is the market penetration. We have not done very good progress in increasing the percentage of people who need our help versus the percentage of people who come into clinic, into our businesses, seeking our help. And for that reason alone, David and I have partnered. We created Soundtrack Hearing and have partnered with Sheffield Financial specifically to address market penetration. Many of the problems that often get associated with poor market penetration often gets dropped down into a big bucket called cost, or price of product, price of hearing aid care. And we believe firmly that there is a very significant difference between affordability and the overall price of a product. Financing has made a significant difference in the consumer's ability to purchase any product in any channel, from houses to cars to furniture to vacations. Financing has become a very, very steadfast opportunity for the consumer to expand their buying power. It hasn't been done very often, and quite frankly, we believe it hasn't been done very well in the hearing care industry. We sought out and partnered a very unique, very successful, highly successful business with Sheffield Financial. And I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to some of the programs of how it can help your specific practice. Across my entire career, my North Star, whether it was a clinical decision or a management decision, was always about how did it impact the patient? What was the consumer's advantage or disadvantage in any decision that was being made in the clinics in which I ran or worked? What we know for sure is that the patient's journey to seeking good hearing health care is not very linear. Matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. It's often a winding road that kind of circles back and circles around and gets misled many, many times. Actually, in reality, what we know is that the patient's journey is often a very windy road that leads to the clinics to where they finally do get help and most likely purchase a product. What that journey, the consumer journey or the patient journey, consists of is 4 very distinctive components. And we can break that up into awareness, consideration, conversion, and loyalty. And if we take a look at each one of those individually, we can see where financing plays a very important role in to help that consumer or that patient make easy progress through each one of those stations of that consumer journey. Slide 13 continued. In most healthcare, what we talk about is the patient journey. But in business, the sales process is most often referred to as the sales funnel. And the idea is that the consumer enters the funnel on one part, and that part is the awareness part. So what are the activities that need to happen from your practice to make your consumers aware that they have difficulty and that their difficulty has a solution and that their solution is most easily achieved by attending your clinic? There can be all kinds of places in the awareness part where financing can be a part of that journey, where it looks at your marketing attempts and how you brand your practice. But at one point, we have got to convince the consumer that they have a problem that is fixable and that you have a way to be able to fix that problem for them. The next part is the consideration phase, and this is absolutely where a good consumer financing program can kind of break down those barriers. In the consumer phase, they've progressed through the awareness phase, and so they are very comfortable that they need to address this problem that has now been identified, and they're considering what their options are. Do they go online? Do they go to a big box retail? Do they go to a hospital or a clinic? Do they go to a private practice? This consideration phase absolutely has the opportunity to make sure that affordability is that barrier is easily broken down. As they move out of the consideration phase, they have to go into conversion phase. And this is where often as audiologists and as salespeople in general across the world, it's kind of easy to skip through the first two phases and just go right to the conversion part. And that the idea is that we have a product that we believe you need and we just want to sell it. But that's not going to happen. They're not going to get to the conversion where they buy our product, where they buy our solutions, if they don't go through successfully transfer through awareness and consideration phase. Once that product is purchased in the conversion phase, the entire goal of continuing a relationship and continuing a dialogue, which is actually very easy in hearing healthcare because we see our patients back often, is the idea is to create not just a satisfied consumer, not a satisfied patient, but a loyal patient. That patient loyalty is what turns into a lifetime value of that consumer. And both in these last parts, the conversion phase and this patient loyalty phase, financing and making it simple and decreasing the barriers and showing them a future of what it looks like to always have good hearing at a very affordable cost. It's something they have done before. That is absolutely a strong role where Sheffield Financial and the new hearing aid financing programs can be an integral part of your practice. The reason that David and I chose Sheffield Financial as our financing partner for Soundtrack Hearing was because they clearly identified three very simple goals that drives their entire business. Easy, transparent, straightforward. And that's what we saw the very first time we met with them, and now 2 years later we continue to see that. We believe if it's easy, transparent, and straightforward, what we all know is that when the patient wins, the practice wins. And so how can a financing program, how can what Sheffield does make it easier for the patient to win? Well, they do that in many ways. Hands down, it's the most competitive interest rate that you will find across any other option in the industry. There's absolutely no surprises up front. You know the terms, your patients know the terms. There's no down payment. There's a fixed payment. The APR is up front. There's no penalties. If something happens and you miss a payment or the patient misses a payment, they don't get penalized. They don't get an outrageous high interest rate of 26, 27, 28%. And the best part is that it can be full financing. It's a true full service. It's a human-to-human relationship between you and Sheffield or between your patient and Sheffield. You pick up the phone, you talk through it. It's not just about the product. This is about selling a hearing healthcare package. If you want to add on accessories, if you want to add on extended warranties, if you want to add on service packages, whatever your brand of your practice needs, that is able to be fully wrapped up into one easy, transparent, straightforward monthly payment. So whether you're first time to financing or you've dabbled in it a little bit and maybe had a mediocre or poor experience, or your consumers, your patients have had a mediocre experience, or whether you do a lot of financing in your practice and you're looking for a new partner, there are some very key takeaways that you will see with Sheffield that differentiate a Sheffield program from anything else currently on the market. As a practice owner, it won't take you very long to figure out that there are some very unique differences between what Sheffield Financial offers in terms of hearing aid financing compared to what other packages that you've seen available across the marketplace. Probably first and foremost is this concept of a very fast approval and a very smart way of creating how do we get to yes. Sheffield works very hard on evaluating the consumer application from many different aspects, much different than just a FICO score, and with this idea of how can we get to a yes for your customer, your patient that's sitting in your room at that time. Very low, very competitive interest rates, very competitive terms is probably the best way that we're able to address affordability. Again, it's not about creating a lower cost. Lower cost and discounts and sales do nothing but kind of cheapen the brand and cheapen the service. And so it's not affordability. Again, you'll hear this many times. Affordability is not the same thing as lowering a price. One big advantage is that Sheffield allows a 60-day recension period. And so if there is exchanges or returns for credits, the consumer has a long time to be able to work that out with you as their provider and what's the best plan of care. And there's no payments made for the first 60 days. And probably the biggest part is that financing opportunity allows you to build a long-term loyal relationship with your patient, and the idea that since you've created an affordable package, you are able to continue to build that relationship over time, and that will just continue to extend the lifetime value of that patient in your practice. It's been a lot of fun introducing Sheffield Financial to a lot of my friends and peers and colleagues that I've made over the last 30 years as an audiologist, in talking to them about how it can help advance and grow, their practice. And one of the first things that comes up is they've never heard of Sheffield Financial, and I think there's a lot more strength and no weakness behind that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Sheffield Financial has been around for a long time. They're very, very large. They're a brand of the Truist Bank system, which is the sixth largest banking system in the United States. To me, the big benefit that Sheffield brings is truly this word that we are always looking for in hearing care, and that's innovation. And innovation is so often confused with invention and new product and new technology, and that it has to be a widget or a gadget, and that's very much not what innovation is. Innovation is truly about how do we capture new value. How do we take an old system and add new value to it can be one of the best ways of bringing innovation. It can be in the form of a new product, like a new offering that Sheffield Financial is bringing. It certainly can be in a new way of thinking, and that's both for the consumer in this case, as well as the provider, that today's a different world, and our consumers are thinking about financing in a different world. And I think that was a different world, both in 2019 as well as 2020, and the world certainly morphed very quickly from a consumer standpoint in 2020 in our post-COVID world. But we've been working on this since the end of 2018 with Sheffield, and we built it all through 2019, and certainly have made some modifications to it because of the world that we currently live in. But a new way of doing something that that we're all familiar with from a consumer standpoint. That's truly some of the biggest advantages that this new program that Sheffield is releasing to hearing healthcare brings to our profession. I stated earlier that Sheffield Financial may not be a well-known name in the hearing healthcare channel, but trust me, it is a very well-known and very well-respected name in the financial channels or lending institution across most lending institutions. One of the most compelling parts of the Sheffield story that I felt immediately connected to as an audiologist and being as comfortable with independent practice owners and understanding the private practice or business owner mentality is that's exactly how Sheffield Financial started. They started back in 1992 by a great gentleman named Jack Snow, who built with just a simple vision of creating a financing mechanism for people to enjoy different parts of their life, the outdoors, and Sheffield built its name in the power sports industry, and so it was all the fun toys that we enjoyed doing and playing with in the outdoors, from motorcycles and dirt bikes to ATVs and UTVs and Sea-Doos, jet skis, snowmobiles. The idea is that the founder, Jack Snow, had a vision that he wanted to help people live the best version of their life of what they enjoyed doing in their passions. And that falls right in line, is certainly of almost every person that's involved with hearing healthcare, is that we certainly, our goal is to be able to change, to decrease the difficulty that people experience in their life through hearing. And we can do that very well. We have amazing technologies in today's world. We have very simplified fitting procedures. From a technological standpoint, it's not the problem to return good audibility. The difficulty has been that market penetration, about how do we take what we can do in hearing health and cast a broader net. How can we create a system that we can help more and more people? And financing options is just part of today's times, and it's a part of healthcare, and it's a part of everything that we touch as consumers. And I would like to say the time is now. The problem is within hearing care, we don't move to change very quickly. I lived that in all of my 30 years, and I witnessed it. And I probably made some of those very same mistakes. We're very slow to change in hearing healthcare. And so I'd like to say the time is now to adapt financing. The reality is that the time was probably 5, 8, 10, 12 years ago. And other industries have created unbelievably good successes, good consumer outcomes. You're able to buy more truck than you normally could because you're able to finance it. You're able to buy better carpet, a different house, a different college education. You just go down the line, and there's a difference between using financing to advance your affordability, and we are certainly not ever promoting going into debt and going into unnecessary debt. I think that's some old school baggage that we've probably carried around too long in hearing healthcare. I'm a firm believer that a good financing program will change the needle when we look at market penetration. It will make a true difference Whether in your practice you call it a conversion rate or a close rate or a help rate, at the end of the day, what we don't lack is opportunity. And what we have been missing the mark on is making it easy, reducing the difficulty in purchasing hearing care. And our simple goal is to decrease the difficulty in people's lives. We can do that by providing better hearing, and we can do that by making it easier for them to be able to purchase, and most importantly, afford that better hearing that's available in your clinic.